Is hostility toward religion on the rise in the United States? A new study says, oh yes, by a lot.
Well, according to the Pew Research Center, both government restrictions of religion and negative social attitudes toward religion in the United States have seen major increases since 2009.
So what does this mean for your freedom of religion? And is big government overstepping its boundaries? Joining us now is Fox News religion contributor Father Jonathan Morris to answer those questions. Father,
good morning.
Happy Super Bowl Sunday to you. Nice
Thank
to see
you very much. Go Broncos. Sorry to distract you.
No, you're not distracting me. Hey, take a look at this full screen here, because these social hostilities index measuring the negative attitudes towards religion over the past few years. Pretty big increase, 26% increase. What do you think accounts for that?
Well, I think there's definitely an increase of people who self-identify as agnostics and as atheists, no doubt. Because why? Because I think for many years in the 50s, 60s, for example, there was kind of a forcing of faith on people without real explanation. You go to church, why? Because you have to go to church. That doesn't cut it, right? And so that generation growing up and saying, you know what, I don't really need to go to church if I don't believe in it. And that's a good thing, to recognize I'm not going to go just for that. But I think we also have to recognize that there's a generation of young people now who have received nothing and who are not escaping from that forced religion and who are saying, hey, you know what, actually, I'm interested in spirituality, I'm interested in religion. I see that all the time in my church.
So is it a failure of outreach?
Yes, I would say, and a failure to learn how to explain the reasons for believing, not just you have to believe because you have to believe.
So here's what I think is ominous. There's been a pretty marked increase in government restrictions on the practice of religion. Let's take a look and put this up on the screen here. 87.5 increase, obviously an estimate, but that's pretty dramatic in the government clamping down on religious expression. Does it bother you?
It does, and I think we've seen, especially over in this administration in particular, we've seen very specific restrictions on and really defining who is considered to be a religious organization. For example, with the HHS mandate, saying, you know what, you're only a religious institution if what you're mostly about is worship. But what about all the institutions that are religious-based and who are doing charitable works, for example? That's a huge restriction. That's a huge change.
And Clayton mentioned outreach a little bit. You know, what about separation of church and state with schools? You know, we hear about students having to take off their cross necklaces or not meet for prayer by the flagpole anymore.
That's right. You know, I think we should thank God that we have, in the First Amendment, we have that no establishment clause saying that government should not establish any religion, but also the free exercise clause, right? That Congress shall pass no law that would restrict the free exercise of religion. Thank God for the wisdom of our founding fathers. We're much better off than so many countries.
That's for sure. And that was a radical notion in the 18th century.
It was, and it was important enough for them to put it in the First Amendment.
Yeah, amen.
Father Jonathan Morris, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, guys.